Good evening and welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm your host, Joshua Solomon, and with me, as always, is the Honorable J.P. Marzullo. How you doing, J.P.?
Good.
You're looking good.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're looking good.
Working out.
What'd you do for Cinco de Mayo?
Stayed home,
Lots
drank
of
a lot of
margaritas?
tequila. Yeah. No, that was fun. And winter doesn't want to leave us, though. I just can't figure that out.
Yesterday and today been okay.
Well, yeah. And that's
I went for my wife and I went for a 2-hour bike ride.
Really?
Me on mine, her on hers. Yesterday.
So your legs sore from the bike ride?
Yeah.
Motorcycle ride.
Well,
my
wrist is sore. Holding it at full throttle for 2 hours is,
No, so we just stayed home and partied there.
But it's the last 2 days have been warm.
Yeah, they have been.
And now the rain has brought some cold back.
Yeah, I almost broke up my shirts, my short sleeve shirts, so that we would look the same. Of course, you don't have the green one that I have, which you would never wear.
Yeah. Well, it was Jets green, so.
Yeah, I know.
That's why you get the green one.
Okay.
You're the Jets fan.
Yeah.
Let's see. As usual, Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades is sponsored by the Wilson Hill Pistol Club, the oldest sports shooting club in New Hampshire, located right here in Manchester at 1732 Lakeshore Road. We have a monthly membership meeting.
Which is tonight.
Which is the first Wednesday of every month, which is today at 7 p.m. directly after this show. You'll see me there. I'll be a little bit late. What else? You can go to our website, wilsonhillpistol.org. You can get our training schedule. We do not have any waiting list. Unlike other firearms clubs in New Hampshire, we don't have any waiting list. And the membership meetings are open to the public. Like I said, you can join tonight at 1732 Lakeshore Road. We do not have any training on the schedule at the moment. We had training last week, but we do have several that are pending being scheduled. Some good ones. Defensive handgun 2, defensive shotgun 2. Some of the more advanced classes. Cool. Those are a lot of fun. Once you get past the basic safety classes and you get into the advanced home defense classes, you start doing crazy stuff like drawing from the hip under the supervision of several, not just one, but several licensed instructors and range safety officers such as myself. So. Tonight, we have a returning guest. It's been a while. Representative Katie Peternel. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Remind everybody what district you represent.
Carroll, District 6, the towns of Wolfboro and Tuftonboro.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So it's a little bit of a drive to get here.
Up north, with
thank
all the folks on the lakes.
Yes.
Yeah. So how are things going? You've decided, you announced a couple of days ago.
Yes, I decided I wasn't going to run again.
You're not going to run again.
Yeah.
So it was a family thing, though, right? You sat down with your family and made that decision, right?
Pretty much. It was just really hard. It took a lot of time away from family, and I have a granddaughter who lives with us, and I want to be with her a little bit more.
You have a granddaughter?
Several grandkids, yes.
Really?
One due this weekend, as a matter of fact.
Holy
really?
Mm-hmm.
I'd have never guessed.
So that's exciting.
Yeah.
It can take a lot out of it. How long have you served?
This is
just the one term?
Just 2 terms.
Oh, 2 terms?
2 terms, yeah.
I mean, between the campaigning, which probably it takes up a lot of the wintertime months, right?
Well, campaign season is ramping up right now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
that's right.
Yes, because we're coming into the election cycle.
I get mixed up between the town elections and the state elections.
You are not alone.
We talk to so many different folks. But you've got the election, which takes up a lot of the door knocking. But then you don't get paid very much if you do get elected. You get your $100 a year.
It's the best job for $100 a year.
But
plus he gets
there's
paid.
A commitment. I mean, there's an all-day commitment for 3-4 days a week.
It depends on
and you've
how
got
you do
sessions.
it.
You've got your sessions and you've got your committees, right? So. I mean, it does. I can imagine it takes a lot out of you, and a lot of folks need to maintain a regular job too.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who work.
Yeah, but she has this drive from Wolfboro to the State House, which she gets paid for mileage, where I was just a stone's throw away. I thought about moving just so I could get the money for driving.
Yeah, but if you move, then you're in the wrong district.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Yeah. So, but you're right. I mean, people don't understand that it's truly a voluntary job.
It really is. The folks that are at the State House are folks who want to be there to represent you. It's not like the Massachusetts legislature or the National Congress, where these folks are getting paid to be there and they can slack off all they want. Right? The folks that are representing you in New Hampshire want to represent you. That's why they're there. It's a volunteer position.
It is, but that's what makes it the best legislature in the country as far as I'm concerned.
It is.
I mean, I had the opportunity, I served on the Judiciary Committee last year, and I was the clerk, so I was sitting next to the chairman, who's a former Chief Justice, Bob Lynn, from Windham.
Oh, yeah.
And I just thought it was so remarkable that I had the opportunity to sit next to a retired Chief Justice of the New Hampshire Supreme Court. Where else would I have had that opportunity to work with a judge like that? I wouldn't have had one otherwise. So it throws so many different people into the mix, and that's what I find so incredible about it. People with multiple advanced degrees and people with high school diplomas. And actually, one of our reps said he didn't actually graduate, he just had a GED. So you just never know who you're going to run into, and you can't tell the difference.
Well, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be representative of the folks in New Hampshire.
Yeah, I mean, I've said several times, if you don't get kind of chills and you don't feel honored to be in that seat, you shouldn't be there, because it's such a different feeling that you know, you have to look around at the paintings and say, oh my God, maybe he sat in my seat, or maybe, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, not only that, but one of my favorite stories, had been in Concord all day in session, and I came home and I stopped at the grocery store on my way home, and this woman said, wait, are you Katie? And I said, yes. Like, why? Because you never know what people want from you. And she said, oh, I think I voted for you, like, thank you. And I said, oh, well, that makes me feel really good, because I spent all day voting for you.
There you go.
So it was like such an organic, amazing conversation to have. Like, you voted for me, and now I know I went down and
I mean, the thing
took your place, essentially.
You're a representative for the entire state, really, because you're looking at bills that'll affect everybody in the state, not just your district. And I think people kind of forget that. So you do represent more than Wolfboro when you're there. Yeah,
it is interesting trying to take that all into account when you're making decisions.
So tell us a little bit about what you've been working on, and what you'd like to discuss.
Well, I don't know if you've talked about this on your show or not, but we had a special election in Wolfboro and Tufton Borough earlier this year because Representative Cordelli resigned and moved to Texas. And he had been the chairman of the Education Policy and Administration Committee. So Representative Noble moved up into the chairman position, and I took the vice chairman position. So I left Judiciary and came back to Education, where I had been the first term.
Yeah, with Glenn.
Yeah, so that was, we've been working on quite a bit of legislation. We had second highest number of bills in the House. We had 77. The committee that had the most, I think, was 86. Wow. Yeah, in a year when we were told to not file too much legislation because we were not going to be in the legislative office building, but hey, so we're down to just a few bills. We had our last executive session on Monday, and we're still working on the open enrollment bill that was tabled a couple of weeks ago, but would allow students to transfer between districts at the choice of their parents.
Tell us about the open enrollment. It's no longer tabled?
It is tabled, but
it's in committee though.
Well, the games we can play in the legislature. So the Senate sent us Senate Bill 101, which was open the enrollment bill, their version of open enrollment, but they attached that same bill to House Bill 751, and that's going to a committee of conference. We haven't had that committee of conference yet. That's House Bill. I can't
751. I don't know.
It's a study committee. I believe.
Okay, just a study committee.
Yeah, but it would easily pass. So a controversial bill got attached.
With the open enrollment, some folks have been trying to kill it, but there was another controversy, I believe it was with Pittsfield?
Yes.
About
yes.
what districts pay for open enrollment for a student to move from one district to another. And does this open enrollment amendment that the Senate has added, does it resolve that? Does it address that at all?
That was actually resolved with a bill I filed last year, House Bill 771, because there was confusion about which district was required to pay for the students enrolled in the school. And it was determined that it should be the sending district. Because I believe the language was ambiguous. It was like the district or something. So we fixed that, and then the Supreme Court followed.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that I heard was that I looked at, when you had a roll call, I looked at a fair amount of Republicans that voted against it. But the argument was that if your child was going to go into my school, then me as a property owner, my taxes would go up because now we've added more children. Right? Isn't that?
Well, the argument is that the sending district would lose money because they're required to pay for the student attending a different school.
Okay.
But what we did with the recent one, with SB 101, we amended it significantly in committee. We had about over 10 hours of hearings on that bill. And actually that was one area where Chairman Noble was excellent. She said, just let the people talk. They want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to, a lot of committees will time the speakers, and she said, nope, we need to hear what everybody has to say. So there was no time limit, and people talked as long as they needed to.
Yeah.
And it's hard to sit through that, but it was the right thing to do, without a doubt, because it's a very controversial bill. But what we did in the amendment was the payment comes from the state instead of the local district. So no local district funding is going between the two. So we based it on the adequacy payments, not including special education payments, and what the charter schools receive. Oh. So it would be about $9,000 a student to go to the receiving district. The sending district would
pay the
obviously
difference.
Well, no, they don't have to pay any difference.
Oh, because
they would lose the student, obviously.
Right.
But so that's where they might lose some money, because they don't have that student. They're not receiving the adequacy from the state, and we fund education based on people's.
So it's a non-issue, right? The sending district is not losing money. They're just not getting money that they weren't entitled to in the first place.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
I think that's the key, and that's the ambiguity that the other side is trying to use to scare voters into not liking the open enrollment process.
Yeah, they're using the underlying bill, the original bill. And actually it was interesting because last year, I think the count was 198 Republicans voted in favor of a different open enrollment bill that was far worse than what we brought forward in SB 101 as amended. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so we were like, what was the difference? It was like under the radar last year, and now it's become more and more of an issue.
Yeah, I heard that argument several times, and we need to get that message out. So, those of you who are watching tonight, please remember the way that's done.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. I'm glad you got that done. That was not an easy task.
Well, we're still working on it, and one of the other concerns that people have with the bill is special education funding.
Right.
New Hampshire is one of the only states where the sending district is responsible for, correction, we've changed that term to resident district. The resident district is always responsible for the special education costs. So if they attend a charter school, the resident district is responsible. And people worry about special education costs. And one of the things they want to do is make this a parental placement. So if you take your child out of public school and send them to a private school, we're not required under federal law to provide special education for them any longer.
Oh, wow.
But you can't do that in a public school because all public schools are required to provide the special education based on their IEP or their 504 plan. So that's where we're reaching a sticking point because people worry about the cost of special education to their districts.
Well, we've touched on that subject a little bit, not a whole lot. We've touched on education quite a lot this year. But with special education, the overall feeling that I get is that it's being used as a crutch by a lot of public schools to code kids and give kids IEPs. We have something on the order of over 30% of the state students are IEP, special education. They're coded in some manner. And that is a massive, massive number. Back when I was in grade school, special education was a number on the order of 1 to 3%, not 30%. Mm-hmm. And so the question is, do we really have 30% of all school-age children in New Hampshire are special needs children, or is it being used as an excuse for behavioral type issues rather than real mental illness or mental disability, special needs?
That's a really good question.
Right, because if we're worried about the cost of special education, are we not worried about the fact that it keeps expanding and expanding? Oh, you are a troublemaker in this class, so you're going to go over to the special ed classes, and we're just going to forget you over here so that we can concentrate. And so now we are constantly increasing the special education needs by, I think, miscategorizing a large portion of the folks that are in there.
That's a common theme, and I have spoken with some special education teachers, and that does seem to be what happens sometimes. For example, the teacher I was speaking to recently, she said, a student may have a reading loss. It might be because of missed school, but it's easier to code them with an IEP than it is to address the reason that they're not attending school regularly. So it's it might be becoming a catch-all. It's a really good question to ask. I don't know where we start to put a stop to it, because they do get more funding when a student has an IEP.
Exactly. So there's actually a monetary incentive there to go this route. So those numbers are huge, and so when we start having this discussion on the open enrollment about the special needs portion of open enrollment and who's responsible for paying for that, that then comes down to the sending district, the resident district, having to pay out of their special needs pool of money that they're getting from the federal government, and that's when they're feeling, oh, well, that's not our money anymore, or we're losing money on this. There's an incentive there for them to add more people to those roles, and now you're taking that incentive away a little bit if they go into open enrollment. Like there's this cycle here that we need to get in and break.
Yeah, are you talking about the receiving district would want more of those students?
Right? The residential district is the one that...
They would want less if they were leaving and going to another school because they're responsible. So one thing that we have to keep in mind with open enrollment is they're going public school to public school. So these special ed services are in place already at the receiving district. So the schools should be able to communicate between each other and say, hey, if you compare open enrollment like putting another soda in the refrigerator that's already running, it's not going to cost you anymore to cool that soda. So that's kind of like the idea behind this. So the school sets the capacity for how many students they can accept. Hopefully they set it low enough to receive any students that want to attend, but also leave a little wiggle room for students who might move in or out of the district. But they should be able to communicate between the two districts and make that work a little bit. So sometimes, so we have an open enrollment district right now at Prospect Mountain in Alton. Okay. And they haven't had to provide any extra services for the special ed students who've come in. They've been able to incorporate them into what they've already had going on. So it didn't necessarily cost the resident district any more money to send, so.
Right.
But it is very complicated, and it did become one of the hottest issues surrounding this piece of legislation.
Like it's those discussions that are the ones that we get a lot of misinformation when we go to the town meetings, right? Because we're not talking directly to our reps, we're talking to school board members and administrators who have an incentive to keep as much money in their budget as possible. And it's just out of control, right? 70% of our tax bill, our property tax bill, is with the schools. That's kind of the average across the state.
Yeah.
Anything we can do to clarify all of these details and get that word out there so that the school boards can't ramrod budgets through that are pushing people out of their houses.
It's really hard. I actually had a bill, House Bill 1807. I started out wanting to require that the tax impact would be on every school board warrant article. Because that's not on our district, it's on our town district, but it's something that the town voted to allow to have on the ballot. And I think that would be really important for taxpayers to see that when they're voting. And one of the arguments against that was that there was no frame of reference for the voter when they're showing up on town meeting day. And I thought, well, I can't tell you how many people call me asking me how I think they should vote on town meeting day, and the only thing they're often looking at is that tax impact on the town budget. So I think the same thing would be good on the school budget. But that bill took on a different life of its own, so that's not what I'm ending up with.
As so many end up doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what else are we working on recently?
Well, the home education bill. We have a Home Education Freedom Act that Representative Noble sponsored. I'm a co-sponsor on it. And it started out, we have education freedom accounts in New Hampshire.
Yep.
It's not explicit in statute that those grants can be used for home education.
Is that Kate Deemer's group?
Well, she's the administrator of the Children's Scholarship Fund.
Right, okay.
So there's a little animosity in the community, the home education community, between the families who receive EFA grants and the families who are unfunded, liberty-minded, purist home educators. So we were trying to figure out a way to completely differentiate the two, because the assessments used for the EFA students is very similar to what they use for home education. So Representative Noble said, just make it as free as possible and remove all of the requirements for home education. And we got pushback. It was amazing. Some people seem to think that this piece of paper in front of them will protect them from an accusation of educational neglect or something along those lines. So they wanted to continue to have to be required to notify somebody or have an option of notification. And we kept saying, you can notify anybody you want, like that you're home educating. It's not going to prevent somebody from accusing you of educational neglect. So we tried to put some of those protections in, like no one can be investigated purely because they're home educating.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah.
So this is just to make sure that all the school-age children are in school, right?
We have
being educated.
Yeah, we have a compulsory attendance requirement in New Hampshire, and the default is that you attend public school. And then there's a whole list of options, including home education and the EFA pathway or private school,
And so the home education bill, it would allow for some of those funds similar to
no
education?
No funding for home education. So there's two RSAs. 193A is the original home education pathway, if you will, because there's 4 education pathways in New Hampshire: public school, non-public school, which includes public school includes charter schools, non-public school, education freedom accounts, and home education. So 4 completely different pathways to pursue education. So 193A home educators do not receive any taxpayer dollars unless they decide to participate in the local district, and the district can receive some compensation for that.
How would that work if they were participating in the local district or
It's been like that for I can't remember when they passed that law called equal access. So a home educated family can they're paying taxes.
Right.
So and then they can get some adequacy from the state based on the number of classes that they take.
And they can also home educated children can also participate in extracurricular type things like school sports and et cetera, chess club.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was just purely, I kept trying to tell the home education organizations that they simply had a marketing issue because they couldn't figure out how to sort out the details, and it was EFAs are a new program, so they were having trouble explaining the law. And I said, well, send them to Kate. And she'll explain it to you. It's not your obligation to explain the law if that's not the pathway that you're familiar with. So we tried to completely separate them, and hopefully that bill passes the Senate next week.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So can we address Planned Parenthood and what's been going on in that arena? We're both very strong pro-life people, and I've seen a lot of things going on back and forth. And is that something you would like to address, or can fill us in on what's happening? Or
yeah, well, when you originally reached out to me, I did want to address that because I've sponsored several pieces of pro-life legislation, one big one in particular, and co-sponsored a lot that came across my desk. But
let's talk about the ones that
that was the biggest target. So last fall, there were people already canvassing in my district against me, and one of my friends sent me a message and said, hey, just so you know, these people came by and I asked them what they thought about the COVID vaccine. My body, my choice.
That's where it started, right?
Yeah. So I said, thank you for letting me know. I knew they were going to be around. But that's not the reason why I'm deciding not to run for re-election. But I did get myself in a bit of a pickle last year because I really wasn't quite comfortable with the GOP position that we were going to completely avoid the life issue.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important. It's on the New Hampshire GOP platform, it's a reason that a lot of people continue to be Republicans. So I felt like it wasn't fair to forget about this block of people, if you will.
You're absolutely right about the forgetting part, because I know dozens and dozens, I know lots of people who have come to me when we've had bad candidates, rhino-type candidates, right? That whole business of it doesn't matter who I vote for, right? But I've had people say, but I'm going to continue voting Republican because, and it was always the pro-life issue.
It was
always save the children.
Yep.
That is a number one item for Republicans. And you're absolutely right. When we go wishy-washy on our policies and nothing actually gets done, it's very frustrating.
It is. It's very frustrating for a lot of people, and they wonder why no one wants to push it through. And I can tell you why. So I submitted a 15-week bill last year at the.
What are we at right now? At 25 or something?
24.
24.
Yep. A 15-week bill because we were going to not talk about the topic and we were going to push the agenda. And the governor doesn't want to sign. Didn't want any more restrictions. So I decided, fine, I'll be the one. I'll put the bill in. Well, it ended up that two pro-life organizations were kind of battling, the one that had asked me to submit the bill and another one who decided they didn't like the language in the bill. And I had been receiving pressure from House leadership, and when I say pressure, I mean conversations like, hey, what if we trade this for that? I'm like, you guys, like, I can't trade life for anything else. There's nothing to trade
I remember
for.
When I was a member of the, I'm sorry, I just want to interject. The only office I was ever elected for, ever won election for, was to be a rep to the state party.
A delegate.
A delegate to the state party. And we had our county meetings, and then we had the state meeting. And I just remember my first county meeting, people coming up to me, where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you at? And the very first person that came to me was somebody that I thought I knew and thought I trusted. And the first thing he asked me to do was to compromise on a pro-life stance. It just, it sunk. My heart just sank. I'm like, whoa, that's not, and the explanation, well, you know, we can't get this through, but if we can get this much, we can get a step, like no, we're not going to get anything done if we keep compromising.
Yeah, and that's how I felt about it. And when I say, like, leaders, they were not heavy-handed in any way, shape, or form. I had conversations, and I brought the letters in. I said, you really want me to tell these people I'm just kidding about my stance? Like, they know
I
I've
just wanted
submitted
to get elected, so I used that.
But I have all these letters from people thanking me for the other bills that I had sponsored or co-sponsored in the prior 2 years. So what ended up happening, we were offered a non-germane amendment of a statistics bill, which the governor would sign, and okay, fine, I'll take a win. So we had a non-germane amendment hearing scheduled for that statistics bill, but then the organization who had asked me to submit the bill started bullying me behind the scenes. And that's when I withdrew my bill, because I wasn't going to be taking hits from all sides. And what they really wanted was a roll call vote so that they could run around and attack all the rest of the Republicans. So I put myself in front so that they couldn't get everybody else.
Thank you.
So, but I know most of the legislators are pro-life, but it's a really hard topic to push because everybody's afraid of it.
Yeah, which is maddening.
We still have to stay on it, though. I mean, we can't drop it completely, right? But it is frustrating with the way it's one of the hard lessons of politics is when we talk about pro-life versus, you know, baby killing, right? I'm not going to call it the other thing that they, you know, that's been going on for 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that finally occurred to me as I was introducing this legislation, and it's pretty traumatic when you're fighting it out like that. But the GOP kept saying, we need to win hearts and minds. We need to win hearts and minds, and that just didn't sound aggressive enough to me. But what I've come around to is, and I had worked on messaging with one of the pro-life organizations for over a year, and I was working with some older men who just couldn't seem to quite grasp what I was trying to tell them, is that the left has framed this as a women's issue, a women's rights issue. And
it's a children's rights issue. It's a life and death issue.
But that message hasn't won in over 50 years. So I see it as an issue of the mother. If you save this is a women's issue because they're being denied their motherhood. And that's something we have to start talking about.
Have you worked with Cornerstone? Okay, so Shannon. Yeah. We've had her on quite a while ago. Yeah, that's
but I think we need to change the messaging around it, like, because if you protect the women,
I think
you'll
what
protect
we do
the babies.
is we go forward with and play their game, right? If the other side wants to call this a women and women only issue, then make them define what a woman is.
Yeah, I mean, with this whole,
okay, if it's a women's issue, define it. Am I a woman?
Well, with all this trans stuff going on, I have repeated this many times. Where were all the women's libbers who were fighting for women's rights and everything when they're okay with a biological man walking into a woman's or child's bathroom or playing sports? And it's kind of hypocritical, but you're right about messaging. That's really the key to it, is how do we message it better, right? And I don't know the answer to that. I wish I did.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's people a lot smarter than I am working on it. And I would love to see that happen.
Yeah. But they definitely need to, the pro-life organizations need to reframe their messaging.
Yeah,
without
I agree.
a doubt.
I agree. Yeah. So that's been a battle for you.
That was a battle. Yeah, I got through it.
Yeah.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly. And you've had support from other representatives in the House too. I've listened to some of the Kristen Noble meetings. Incredible what people say.
It is.
It's just mind-boggling what goes on. And I would like to see other people at least listen to it. I mean, you can see any of the committee meetings every day if you like, and really listen to when people come to testify, because that's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I remember about 2 years ago, I have a friend who's definitely a keyboard warrior, and sends me messages in all caps, and I said, why are you yelling at me? We're on the same side, and I convinced her to come down for one of the women in sports bills. And I'm like, oh, you need to meet Beth Skayer and, get involved so you can, be more proactive. And I'm sitting listening to the hearing, sitting there in the committee room, and I look up and where'd she go? And she sends me a message. She said, I couldn't stand listening to it anymore. I had to leave. And I said, well, okay. It's hard, really hard, but if you have to push through it so that you can hear all the arguments and learn how to fight this. So I lost. She's still a keyboard warrior, and I have a hard time getting her to volunteer and do anything else. Yeah,
I mean, we better not only go out and vote, but we better be really active this time, because you just look at the people that that the Democrats are putting up for offices in Maine. They have a Nazi running,
and it doesn't look like it's going to be a clear win over him either.
No, it doesn't. I mean, you have Mendami in New York, who's driving out all of these people with money. And
did you see Ken Griff?
Yeah,
he's out.
He's out. Yeah, and Hochul's trying to.
He's taken billions with him. He's taken folks with $1 million salaries with him. Yep. Like, the city's going to just anyway.
Yeah, that would be a disgrace. I mean, that would be horrible. They did it to Detroit. Detroit at one time in the 50s was the place to be. You had all the wealthy, tire people and engine people and car dealers and all that stuff. And over the years, they started doing some crazy things. And, who wants to go to Detroit now? I mean, it's not, well, sorry, you people from Detroit.
No, Detroit is,
it's failed.
I would say easily the worst of the U.S. metropolitan cities that I've visited.
Yeah.
Right? And I've visited almost all of them, you name them. And I've been to Detroit a couple of times. And my sister and my brother-in-law went to Detroit about a month ago for a business type thing. And I said, make sure you get out. and they had the worst time. They had a miserable time. They don't want to go back.
So and I look at Warmington, who's running for governor, and some of the nonsense she's been saying lately. I mean, she just can't make up her mind. Something about, well, the reason why we have to pay high property taxes is because we're keeping criminals in prison. What? What is that about? How does that? I don't understand it. I don't.
No, actually, my property tax bill doesn't, again, over 70% of my property tax bill goes to the school, not to the prison.
Right. No, right? But that's, this is what we're faced with, and we better have, and a lot of, I've talked to some people over the past several years who say, well, I don't like the candidate, so I'm not going to show up and vote. That's the worst thing you could do. You've got to and the other thing is, and I can remember doing this many times at meetings when I was in the vice chair of the party. And I would go into a meeting and they would complain that we were picking the people for them. So I'd go into a meeting and say, how many of you in here are Republicans? They all raised their hands up. And I said, how many voted? Everybody put their hands up. I didn't place that person there, you did. You have the wrong candidate. Find the candidate that can win without compromising your core values. you know, us getting back to Planned Parenthood kind of stuff.
We've talked to a lot of people this season, both at the state level and running at the federal level, that are different. They're not career politicians, and they have core values that they're promising that aren't going to get compromised once they get in. And I can just pray. I'm seeing a lot more of those than I did 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we've
hopefully that's a trend.
We've had Holly Novoleski, and we have the other fellow that's running, who's not a politician. He's got car dealers. I should know his name. It's Italian.
Anthony Di Lorenzo.
Yeah, Anthony Di Lorenzo. Sorry, Anthony. But you know, and those people, they're business people, and their values are strong. They're family people. And you're right. We are seeing more of those type of candidates now.
We just need to get them.
We have to get them
over the finish line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that people say they don't want a politician, and then when someone can't deliver a speech that knocks them out of their seats, they didn't, you know, really entertain me. So they want a politician until they don't want a politician until they want a politician.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Which is sad. I mean, I see. You know, there are a lot of people who have sat in the House for 1 year and then think they can run for Congress. That's some of them might be able to, but they have to raise so much money, and they don't have the connections they need to have, and it's hard to get the right candidate because we've done this. Listen, Ovid LaMontagne was my first entry into this crazy business, and he couldn't have been. He was the best candidate ever, in my opinion. You know, he really was. And he lost. We went to bed at night thinking he had won, and the next morning when we woke up, our governor won. And he was such a gentleman. He only lost by 1,000 votes or so, and he could have asked for a recount. And his wife, Betty, and I were saying, Ovid, you got to ask for a recount. He said, no, we don't have time. There's no way to turn all my people that voted for me into supporting Kelly, and we need to win the Senate.
Oh, for the primary.
Yeah, and I could, you know, that I really respect him for that. He's one of the people I most respect, and we need candidates like that again. You know, and it's hard to find them. A lot of people don't want to run. I mean,
finding people to run is a real challenge. Yeah.
Now, do you have someone that you've sort of handpicked?
We're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what I had to do. To say, okay, if you're not going to run again, you better find somebody.
That's what you have to do. But yet, a lot of people say, well, the NHGOP didn't support.
Exactly.
Because in our special election, we had. I don't know if you heard about it. We had 2 write-in candidates.
Oh no, I didn't
and
hear
2
this.
on the ballot. And one of the write-in candidates was the one we had handpicked. And actually, he kind of popped out of nowhere. I said, who's this guy on Twitter? And then I thought, no, he's not a real person. The next thing I knew, I'm like, oh, no, you are a real person, and you weren't just faking it on Twitter. He won the primary.
Yeah, he won the primary.
But we had him as a write-in, and then another woman decided at the last minute, to us, that she was going to run, and she had to be a write-in because she hadn't been registered
to
vote.
To win.
And then we had another guy who was just on the ballot but thought he deserved to win because he goes to all the local meetings but didn't campaign. It was crazy.
That is crazy.
You go from not being able to find anybody to
too many people.
On deadline day, everybody shows up and says, I'll do it anyway.
It's it's June 1st to the 10th or something. I don't know. It's like the first couple of weeks in June,
10th,
something like that. Yeah. I can remember driving from a meeting when I ran for state rep, and I was running out of time to get to the town hall to sign up. And I got behind a guy pulling a trailer with all his junk hanging out, so I couldn't pass him anywhere. And so I said, okay, God, listen, if you want me to run, I'll make it. If not, thank you, we won't do this. So I'm driving along, and I called the town hall, and I'd been a selectman there, so and I said, I'm really running kind of late here. Do you think you could maybe squeeze another 5 minutes out? I should be there in time. And I made it with 1 minute. I had 1 minute and made it and signed up. But you're right, though. It's hard to get people to run that you can support, too. That's the other thing. You know, you're going to get other people.
But you have to support people sometimes, no matter what. You know, and that's one of the things. Like sometimes when you hear Republicans knocking other Republicans, I'm like, well. Like the candidate that we had, he's running again. His name is Dale Fincher. So he's going to run again. And people were saying, well, but he wasn't local, but he lives in town and has lived in New Hampshire for 5 years, but he wasn't local. And I said, we asked probably 3 or 4 local, what you would call local people, and they all said no. So you can't ding the guy because he's the one who was willing to do it.
Yeah, here's what you hear all the time. I'm a 4th generation New Hampshire person, you know. And then I say, well, you realize that maybe 35% of the people in New Hampshire are not from the state. Actually, it's a higher number.
That, yeah.
And so, you know, you're only going to vote for the guys that lived here for so long. You know, why didn't they run before then?
Yeah, and furthermore, why would you move to New Hampshire just to run to be a state rep and make $100 a year? That's the other.
That's not why they moved here.
Crazy, right? Exactly. But you'll be. I'm here 21 years. I'll be a flatlander forever. You know, it never does anything.
Yeah.
I've been in New Hampshire longer than you.
Oh yeah. Oh. I just make more noise, so.
I was here for 10 years before I started making noise. So.
Well, the only reason why I made noise is because they told me, you know, the guys in town said, you're going to run. And I said, I don't know anybody. They said, well, we know everybody. So I ran.
I made the mistake. I've had strong opinions my entire life, but had never voiced it anywhere. I'd never attended meetings or anything. And I made the mistake of getting so angry about a specific issue that I wrote an op-ed and it got published in the Concord Monitor.
No.
And the day it got published, I started getting phone calls from my state rep. Hey, you're going to start causing trouble with me, and we're going to team up. And that state rep was Gary Hopper.
Yeah, our guy. Yeah, our guy.
So,
yeah.
Gary calls me up and I'm like, who's this? Oh yeah, I guess I voted for you. What do you want with me?
He had to sign with
He says, I got plans for you, boy.
And he did. He did.
Here I am.
Yeah, that's great.
So, all right, sorry, another tangent that I went off on.
We both did, so. But, you know.
But it's all part of the conversation. Cause it's,
yeah, I mean, it's good to see, though, that, you know, you'll still be involved. I can tell you're going to be involved. When I decided not to run again, I'm sitting in the seat and I'm thinking, I could be doing more outside than I am sitting in the seat, you know, every day. I could cause more trouble on the outside than, you know, sitting here. And I think there are some people like myself who feel that that's the best way to really serve our town, our cities, our country.
And I also think there's a need to support our reps when they're in office, because that was something that I had a really hard time with, because having somebody on the outside who can get down to the details of the legislation and under the spin that's happening locally, that's really
that is
important.
Absolutely something that every state rep, state senator, federal rep, senator, every politician needs is a base around them that can help them knock through some of this, because you're the face, right? You have your ideals and you are making your speeches on the floor and whatnot, but you effectively you're the face of your party in that area, and you need people who are more experienced, who can say, hey, I see what you're trying to do here, and let's kind of dig in here, and let's change the wording here a little bit. You can't go in and just be solo at this job. Yeah. You have to have a base of people that support you.
Well, I'm even thinking of just the people who show up at the local GOP meetings who want entertainment. They need a little help digging down into the weeds of the bills a little bit, because one of the biggest challenges is keeping people focused on New Hampshire.
Yes.
You know,
absolutely.
And it gets so tired of people saying, well, but Trump fixed that. No, his executive order didn't fix that issue for you. We still have work to do at the state. Can you sign this?
And I think there's
please?
A lot of us who want, you know, I want to make sure our state is in good shape. I mean, I certainly want the government to be, but I have no impact on it, just like you said.
Yeah.
Claire Roulard is another one who's still stayed very active and has done a great job too. And I think that's probably your role.
Yeah, well, you never know.
Where you're going to be.
They did hire her as the Senate liaison to introduce the Senate bills in the House, because we were using Granite Place for our meetings.
Oh, okay.
So it was a mile or so up the road from the State House.
Why is the office building closed?
It's under construction. They're completely renovating it.
It's just like the parking garage that's supposed to be done. It's going to be another year now.
Yeah.
So they have to go over to Tandy's and have a beer on the way to the State House.
No, we won't be able to do that anymore.
No, I know.
You won't get banished to the store's parking garage if you're misbehaving.
Exactly. Gary actually was banished at one time. They put him up in the Tandy Bill across the street, over near Tandy's, and that's the worst. That was the worst place.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. I remember John Burt making light of the parking situation.
Yeah, John.
He would go over and he would take a photo of his parking spot over at Staples.
Yeah, yeah. John was. Yeah. John,
this is my parking spot. I have to walk to the State House from here.
Yeah, we had some characters. There's a few. It's great.
Yes, characters. There's always characters, and that's one of my other things. When somebody says, "Well, I couldn't run for office. I'm like this," and I'm like, "You'll fit right in, whatever it is."
Well,
that's true, though.
Yeah.
Folks have stopped asking because they know it's not going to happen. But I was asked a few times over the years, and I said, no, because I will lose my cool with the process of folks just dropping their convictions to get along, and the process of tabling things that, well, why did you table that? You know that was a good bill. Well, we're not going to get enough votes. I said, yeah, but I still want the people to vote on it. I want to see how far we get, right? Yeah. The process is going to drive me nuts, right? And so, that's one of the things that I said, I will help from the outside.
But see, now you're almost at the average age now of the people at the State House. So there's still a chance for you to go.
Yeah, I was talking with somebody today who's 72, and he said, "But I'm really old." I said, "No, that's like a teenager in the State House."
You're going to bring the age limit down. Yeah, exactly.
There was a bill. I can't remember what it was. He talked about it on a show that Gary. Somebody got down on the floor and. Did a speech about a bill, and it was something about retirement age or retirement aged folks and when folks are going to get some benefit, and Gary piped up and he says, well, given the average age of the folks in this room, should we really be the ones voting on this?
That's about it. It's
because it was either self-serving or it just wasn't going to pass at all because of the age of the folks in the room. So.
It's that, and at the county delegation meetings when we're determining the salaries or the stipend for the elected officials for the county, and we're sitting, I don't know, they have a lot of responsibility, and I'm like, yeah, I make $100 a year, and we're giving them 12, 13, 14.
Right. Right.
It's true. They stopped paying us the $50 to drive to the county building at one point.
Oh.
Yeah. It was part of, we felt it was part of the mileage that we should be getting paid. And initially they said, okay, we'll pay you $50. And the next year they said, oh no, it's, we don't need that anymore. Of course, we were outnumbered. I was in the House when we were in the minority, which was a great awakening.
Well, that's another part of it, is when you're in the minority, it is difficult to get the motivation to continue staying there and running.
Oh no, we kept pushing that red button, man, I'll tell you. We had a lot of fun. We stopped a lot of things.
No, I mean like running for election
running for
again.
Election,
right?
Yeah. I gave Chris Sununu this big red pen, this big marks like this big, to sign all those bills. So, but that was kind of cool. So I'm glad that you came on and you spoke about things that are important to not just us, but to the viewers. Did we miss anything that you?
Those are the big highlights that I'm working on right now. Yeah, that we have to get through before the end of the session. Yeah, which is only a couple weeks away.
So, Committee of Conference has one of your bills there, did you say, or did I misunderstand?
Not my own, not my personal piece of legislation, but right now we have the open enrollment bill.
Oh, that's
in
the one
Committee
that's
of Conference. I don't know what else is going to end up in Committee of Conference just yet.
Yeah, we don't know who's on that committee.
We do. It's public. I'm on the committee.
I mean, we don't know.
Oh, you don't know. Yeah. It's Representative Noble. I can't remember who's on it from the Senate side. Definitely Senator Lang, because it's his bill.
Yeah, Tim Lang, yeah. Who will be on here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Representative Irf. He's on education funding, because we split the committee in two.
Keith Irf.
Yeah. So.
All right.
How are we doing that?
We're pretty much done. So if you want folks to be able to contact you with questions about these things, let them know how to get in touch with you.
Or not.
Or not.
No, everything's on the State House website, and I have a website, votekatie.com, which will be coming down obviously in the fall. But yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate what you did.
Thank you very much.
All right. If you're looking for a pistol club to join, 1732 Lakeshore Road, Manchester, in 4 minutes. Be there or be square.
Couple, they weren't successful, fortunately. JFK.
Yes.
We keep going back.
Lincoln,
Andrew Jackson,
and believe it or not, MLK.
Yes, Martin Luther King, because he was effective. Well,
Yep.
the Republicans were the pro-rights party. They always have been.
Yeah.
I mean, today I would still argue they are. But I think it's just an effective thing in terms of taking guns away from the Democrats. They self-regulate. We don't need to do that. But I will say, every Democrat I've ever gone to a gun range with, and I've gone to the range a couple times, they generally convert, and they usually become gun people.
Oh, absolutely.
Quite quickly. As soon as they do it, they're like, "Oh, this is awesome."
This show is sponsored by the Wilson Hill Pistol Club at 1732 Lakeshore Road, wilsonhillpistol.org. And that is absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
Folks who are anti-gun come in, they take a class, they get instruction, and
have fun.
They change their attitude. And we are out of time, everybody.
Oh,
Tell everybody where they can get a hold of you real fast.
Yep. So